It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and I am back today with a review I was kind of excited to do. I was very much looking forward to this film. I have been following this series for most of my life, and so I'm so happy to be able to share with you my thoughts on the latest. Today, I am reviewing Furiosa, a Mad Max, fantasy whatever. It's a prequel, okay? It's a prequel kind of sequel. All right, let me tell you a little bit about Mad Max. For those of you who do not know, Mad Max is a series of films, a whole Mad Max universe, series of films taking place in like this like post-apocalyptic Australia. After we have all done everything we can to destroy the earth and its resources, there's wastelands, right? So you've got this place called the Wasteland, which is supposed to be in future Australia. Now, this started in 1979 with Mel Gibson starring as the lead, Mad Max, whatever you want to call him. And it had Mad Max 1, you had Mad Max 2, I think it was called The Road Warrior. You had Mad Max 3, which was Beyond Thunderdome. And that's when I entered into the Mad Max universe because Tina Turner was in it and my mom was a big fan. So we had to see Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. And that made me interested to learn about the previous ones, which I would later go back and watch again. Awesome. Now you move forward to the 21st century, and we've got Mad Max Fury Road. This film was huge, okay? I think it made close to 400 million at the box office. I think it had a budget of like less than half of that. Stars Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy. And it's really interesting because I think this is the first time that any of the Mad Max films got any Academy Award nominations, and I think they got 10 of them, and I think they won like six. So that was a pretty big deal for a film like this, science fiction, apocalyptic, not necessarily what the Academy is checking for, right? So you had that one. That was so great. And I loved it because it got to introduce a new generation of folks to the Mad Max saga. So that was in 2015. So now we're in 2024, like 9 years later. And here comes Furiosa, which is a prequel to Fury Road. Okay, so if you were to put them in order, it would be Mad Max, Road Warrior, Beyond Thunderdome, Furiosa, then Fury Road. Okay, and I hear there's talks of another one called The Wasteland, and I guess they're trying to see how Furiosa does. But anyway. So we will have multiple films. All right, so let's get into this one. Yes, as I said, I was super excited. Of course, there's going to be spoilers, so let me issue my spoiler alert. Ding, ding, ding. If you don't want to learn anymore, come back when you're done and see if your thoughts align with mine. So I went and I was just like, yes, I'm finally getting to see this. One of the things that I do love about this series is that it kind of pushes us to the limits of our understanding of humanity, really, because there are people in the film that are depicted as being human. Then there's like these humanoids, and then there's these like creatures that are like created by blending humans and animals and this and that and like how they're growing people. It's just very interesting because humanity has to adapt to the lack of resources, right? So you have people that don't have access to water. You have people that are struggling to access things like oil, fresh food, vegetables and fruits and produce. They don't have these things. So what happens to the human body over time as it begins to adapt to the lack of resources? And I think that's a really good examination of what, this kind of sci-fi dystopian film is doing. But also it wants us to think about, how far we will go in our desperation, right, to have resources. And it's while we're thinking about the future, we really just need to look at the past and see what happens when people get greedy. When people are afraid that they're not going to have resources, we see what they've done. But a film like this kind of shows you, like in action, how callous people can be, right? So you're getting a lot of backstory for the Mad Max saga. Basically, we're getting Furiosa as the little girl, and we find out that she comes from this like place of great many things, and it's got, you know, many mothers, I think it's called, and it's this place of abundance, right? So she's discovered by these, I don't know what to call them, maybe bounty hunters of some sort, I don't know. But she's discovered as a little girl, and they find that she's in this place that is growing trees, it's growing fruit, it's growing all these things, and they kind of kidnap her and end up, you know, killing her mom, which, you know, that's the beginning of her kind of villain origin story. If you want to consider her a villain, she could be, whatever. But that's the beginning of her story. And so they try to bring her back to Dr. Dementis, who is played by Chris Hemsworth. I don't know how y'all feel about Chris Hemsworth. I be having some thoughts about him. I feel like he plays the same character every single time we see him on screen. I'm sorry. He does. So if you can deal with him, then you know he's there. So he's Dr. Dementis, and he's like real crazy, like real psychotic, and he doesn't care. He's got like some sociopathy going on, so he does not care about anybody's feelings, and he's greedy, and he wants everything for himself. But then there's this spark in him, and he might be a good guy. He might be trying to help out Furiosa, but she's been doing this whole I'm not going to talk thing. I'm going to have them thinking I'm a mute because they're all trying to coerce out of her the location of this place of abundance, right? Because obviously people have gone all this time without water, without fruit. They want to find where it is. So this little girl has to be the one to teach them. So what is important about this is that she's committed. Like this, they're you think about different warrior women types of groups. You think, you know, the woman king. You think of Amazon. You think all these things. They have like a code, right? And oh, you know, Wonder Woman and stuff. Like you fall on your sword before you reveal the secrets, right? So Furiosa is really committed to this, and so the people that the men that take her, they end up meeting their demise before they're able to reveal where they got her from. So Dr. Dementis takes her under his wing, starts to raise her, but then he's doing negotiations with another guy who, the Immortal Joe, and that's a big character in Mad Max. And so she finally speaks up and she's like, I want to go stay with you because this guy, Dr. Dementis, killed my mama and I don't fuck with him. And they're like, oh, wow, she talks. She didn't say all of that, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so she ends up being raised by this guy, and he's got all this nasty mask or whatever. But he looks at her and he's like, he sees something in her, where she seems like a warrior and she's strong and she's smart, and he kind of identifies that in her. And he's like, basically, like, all right, you come stay with us. And so that's how we get Furiosa, like this kind of soldier type person working, you know, part of this army where she eventually meets Max, who would go on to be like Mad Max, right? That we know of. She went through some stuff. This is a backstory film. This is like we're learning. Like if you liked Fury Road, you know that Charlize is playing a character that doesn't have an arm. You learn how that happened. Like it's disgusting, and you get to see it happening. You learn the backstory of so much and how she got to be there. And what I really loved is like at the end how they originally they were going to have Charlize do it again, but they were going to kind of de-age her, you know, with the technology. But George Miller, the director, he was like, "Nah, we're not going to do that. We'll just cast somebody else," because he's not convinced that the technology works the way it should be working just yet. So he cast someone else to, you know, to come into the role. But what I liked at the end of the film was they start showing scenes from Fury Road so you can start making the connection, because they literally take you right up to the last moment before she's about to help the wives escape. And if you didn't see Fury Road, that won't make any sense to you. So it was like a really nice seamless transition on how they were showing scenes with Charlize kind of woven into that so that you see the continuity. I thought that that was really great filmmaking. Especially when something that hasn't been out in so long, right? Fury Road came out 9 years ago. I mean, granted, we had the pandemic and that erased some years from our lives, but almost 10 years ago, right? So we have to think about that. They want you to remember at least something. Is this something you could watch without having seen the others? Absolutely. Is it more fun when you've seen the others? Yes. But I think a good film is one where, especially as it's part of a series, a good part of a series is when you can watch it as a standalone film, right? Having not seen anything else, and everything will make sense to you, right? Um, it's when people do like Twilight is bad when it comes to like series and stuff. Same thing with Hunger Games. Those aren't actually films I think you can watch as standalones without having backstory and needing them, except for the last one, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That one you could actually watch by itself. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about. Maybe I'll review Hunger Games. I'll do that. But Mad Max, it's really one of those series where like you can watch them individually, especially these latter ones, but it'll probably pay off to watch all of them. So I recommend watching all of them. You could even watch Furiosa and then watch Fury Road, and that would work for you too. So go ahead and do that. I'm gonna give this. Oh, I really enjoyed this film. Let's give it. Let's give it 4.5 stars. I thought that it was really, really well done. I thought that the cinematography was great. The director of photography was great. I think the editing was decent. In some areas, I was kind of like, what are you doing here? But it seemed a little bit experimental. I mean, it worked though, because we're kind of in a post-apocalyptic space. So I think they were kind of giving us those vibes. I mostly filmed in desert, right? So this is about the wasteland. We learn about the different segments of the wasteland and you get to see them. So I really loved how they constructed these different places that represented these different things. Like one area of the wasteland, they have all the water. One has all the gasoline. One has, fruits and vegetables. So the way they depicted all of those was pretty great. To give us a bigger, better landscape of kind of the wasteland. And that's why I'm hoping that they do make the next one, because I want to see more of Tom Hardy. I want to see more of the Wasteland. I want to see more of Max kind of in our modern time, now that we are the future. Because like the original Mad Max came out in 1979. Now that we are in this future, like what does it look like, So yeah, go see it. Go see it. I really enjoyed it. If you are a Mad Max fan, if you liked Fury Road, I think you will enjoy Furiosa. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time.